And that, let's get it.
Gentlemen, gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful week. I hope you're starting to see the evidence of all of the layers of the compass that you've learned. Just real quick recap, like less than 5 minutes. Layer 7 of the compass was EDOS, endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and how those play into developing our own happiness and how the chemicals in our bodies have a lot to do with our state management, if you will, and also learning how to manage the states of others. We talked about the layer 8, which is the 5 power bases. And now we're going to deviate a little bit off to the right because we spoke a lot about passion with vision and purpose, which that vision usually causes some kind of passion and purpose. And I want to just deviate only so we can actually deal with that, because most of us are here either because we're trying to figure out who we are and where we're going, or we're here because we're trying to learn how to take who we are and manage that in the world, right? Like, how do I make everyone else comply with me, or how do I fit my version and vision in of me into this world that seems to constantly be going against me? And so one of those things is developing an understanding of how that all interlocks. How do I take all these layers of the compass to manage me in the first 6 quadrants? I'm dealing with my own identity of who I am. These layers of the compass is dealing with how I interact with other people and how I manage my own emotions, as well as managing or at least being able to understand the emotions of others. And the guiding light that allows you to get through your own emotions and even deal with the others is vision, passion, and purpose. Okay. So I want to just spend a little time on that. Layer 9 of the compass is called Ikigai. Some of you, anyone familiar with the term Ikigai? All right. So what you'll see is I'm grabbing this stuff. Some of it's ancient, some of it's not so ancient, but Ikigai comes from Okinawa. It's unique to Okinawa and spread throughout the world. A little harder to understand from the Japanese point of view, but it is definitely easy to understand once you get it. So we're going to dive right in. Does anybody have any questions before we begin about anything that we've learned so far? Yes, sir, Patrick. Let's go.
Did you say 5 power bases or 4?
I'm sorry, 4 power bases that develop legitimate power.
Okay.
So the legitimate power is technically the 5th, but without the other 4, it's hollow.
Okay.
It's like an integrity tree without roots.
I
Right?
thought I
So
missed.
someone can designate like you as a vice president, but if
Mhm.
you don't have those other 4 power, like you could be the vice president or president of a company, someone can designate that authority to you, and the title confers the idea of legitimate power. But if you don't have those other things, you won't maintain it very long. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
These 4 come together to create legitimate power.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
So
I
four
thought I
power
missed
bases.
some. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And
And
then
then you said vision, purpose, and what else?
vision,
Or is it just vision
passion,
and purpose?
vision, passion, and
Passion.
purpose.
Okay.
So the passion is the drive that comes from your vision. Because like when you actually have a true vision for something, you usually get excited about it. You feel driven to get it done, right? That passion allows you to create those actions that cause it to become a purpose. Like we were talking about before, vision without purpose is dead. Passion will drive you to do those things. Passion is stronger than motivation, right? Although it does yield motivation. And purpose, actually doing the thing, makes that keeps that passion going. So we want to figure out, how do we do that? How do we make that work in the world, right? Because I could have a passion about something and still not have it work. I could have a vision, a passion, and a purpose, and it still won't work. How do I align these things? Well, the Japanese came up with a way, like the Okinawans came up with a way. Okinawa was the foundations of karate, so that's where karate comes from. Of course, they picked that up from the Chinese. But in the process, these people came up with this concept called ikigai. Any other questions about past work before I get into this?
Are we gonna go over the homework at all, or that's just gonna be sent in, or
Oh, let's
what
do
are we
that.
gonna
Let's do
do?
that. Let's go over the homework.
Okay.
You can start.
Okay, well, so the one part I came up with was when we're talking about, so it was supposed to be from each quadrant, right? Of
Mhm.
Yeah, so the motion was to understand my vision is to understand every single emotion that I have within myself and be able to have absolute stoicism at all times. The reason being is so I could be able to identify those same emotions in everybody else and help you to control and navigate throughout the path of whatever I'm trying to get across.
Okay.
The spiritual is to have 100% connection with self and with God. Obviously, I feel if I have absolute connection with myself and God, from there, my environment will be able to feel that within whatever aura, presence, however you want to label it. Physical part is to basically step one is to get to like my my baseline potential and then create a new potential so I can share that with other people on how I was able to go through that journey and basically knock down barriers, right? If you think you can't reach certain things, like fuck, I did it. Let me help you go along that path. The financial was this one was a little tricky, but I think I want to. The vision is to to get to $1 million a year, and the reason that I want to do that is not only does it give me absolute, it'll give me in a position where I'll be absolute freedom, not absolute, but pretty damn close to absolute freedom, and it's also something that anyone at every financial level could respect. Whether you're making 100 grand a year or you're a billionaire, everybody knows getting that first million how difficult it is. So I feel that somewhat respect that brings notoriety, respect, and some type of status in life.
Well, I'll put you in the top 1%. You're absolutely, everybody respects that at some
Yeah.
level. I would suggest figuring out when you add when you say $1 million, right? That's a great goal. The vision should be $1 million vision. So you should probably define that out further on what that vision is to create and how that gets to $1 million.
Okay.
What the increments are, how many customers, clients, projects, products, whatever, services. Like you should break that down and figure that out. Even if it's just a projection and you've got 3 different ways to get there, that's fine. But by having that a little clearer than just $1 million, because
Mhm.
I had that goal too. I was like $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, but did I have $1 million vision?
Okay.
Right? Because without that idea of what could get me there, it becomes difficult to navigate. There's a bazillion ways to get to $1 million, right?
Mhm.
So all the millionaires I know are doing it a different way. Right?
Yeah.
So I have to have my vision, and is that $1 million vision or not? If my idea is to sell pencils, I could sell them one at a time for 50 cents or $1 each, but you know what I mean? That's a
Yeah.
lot
I
of
got
people
you.
to sell pencils to. I have to figure that out. What does that look like? Do I need 30 customers? Do I need 50 customers? Do I need 100 customers? Like paint that out a little more.
Okay.
Because
I
then
think
you
for
actually
me,
have
not
targets that you can go, I need this many a week, I need this many a month. Yeah. You know what I mean?
so I guess the one thing I'll struggle with is like that. I didn't do it this time, but if I were to go back and do it, it would be pretty simple for me to figure out. My only
Yeah.
problem is that's like there's level one is $1 million goal. Level two is what you need to get to that million. But that third layer is what actions to create to get to get to level two, right? There's level
Yeah, they
three
answer
is
each other though, because once you actually have how you get to the goal, right? I need 30 of these clients, 50 of these. Like remember we did uh the 20, the 10 feeder fish, the 5 tunas, the 1 whale. We had a
I didn't
conversation.
do that with you.
So there's a concept, and we talked about it, but the whole idea is like in my business, I need 10 feeder fish. This is small guys that
Oh yeah.
they come and they go. Five tuna. These are big, medium-sized customers that would feed me very well. It would hurt to lose them, so I'll fight like the Dickens to keep them. And 1 whale. If I could just land 1 whale, I've landed 3 whales this year. But if I could just land one whale, those big projects that could like put me over the top by themselves if I build enough rapport, if I can get them in the boat, right? So if you have a vision of, okay, what are your feeder fish? What are your tuna? What are your whales? You can figure out, okay, I might need 15 feeder fish, only one tuna. And, you know, if I get a whale every 2 years, I'm good. Like whatever those things are for you, what does the small client look like? What does the mid-sized client look like? What does the big monster client look like? If you can figure out and paint that vision, then I can actually now say the goals are I need to find where these particular types of fish are, and I need to hunt. You know what I mean? And I'm only going for tuna right now. This is tuna season. Next season is going to be feeder fish season, right? Because the feeder fish allow you to get the tuna. The tuna is what you're baiting the whales with, right? Makes sense?
Makes perfect sense.
All right. Anybody else? Who else did their homework? Let's go, Ben. Teacher's pet. You get an apple. Actually, I'm supposed to get the apple, but.
All right, we're going to start with spiritual vision to further grow in knowledge and understanding of my drives, initiatives, and correlations to integrate my connection with this world. Purpose. Make meditation before bed consistent, join a local group of men striving for the same goals, reevaluate my role of church in my life, and come up with a routine that I can be consistent with. Emotional. Vision to grow in empathy and find a better, healthier way to express emotions, also become unconsciously competent in eliciting positive emotions in others. Purpose. Read more books by Rule Ones on emotions, practice exercises in said books, work on not shutting down. And 4, consciously exercise empathy in my daily life. Physical vision, 14% body fat, 220 to 230 pounds, size 32 pants, 18 arms cut, have a primary care established in Tennessee, have a dentist, and pull 900 pounds on the sled. Purpose, be consistent in diet, increase state cardio, get a better pair of shoes for pulling that weight, and track progress consistently. Financial vision, to hit over 100K per year, because this is a year out goal that we were talking about. To hit over 100K per year, 10 to 15K in emergency fund, negative debt free, passive income stream established. Purpose, get 8 more certifications, including prompt engineering, develop 6 strategies on passive income, research investment opportunities, network with future potential investors.
Sounds like they all fit into the impossible game for me. I love it. Can't really complain. If you were shooting out for a long-term goal, I would say they were too small. But for a 1-year goal, that's not bad at all. Anybody else? Who didn't do their homework? Raise your hand.
I mean, I just did mine like 15, 20 minutes before the call.
You did it, though.
Yeah.
The deadline's the deadline.
I did mine right before the call also.
All right, Gordon, you go next then. And then we'll get into it.
All right. So spiritual, stay close to the fire. I've been doing a lot of praying and fasting this time period. And, the idea is not to get healed and stop all the good habits. So I want to stay close to the fire. So continue my prayer life, fasting life, being helpful for the church that I'm a part of, and really living a supernatural life. Emotional vision, to hear and express my own voice, not to bottle up, to hear and anticipate my wife's voice. The same for my children and family. Physical vision, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a brown belt right now with 2 stripes. I look to get my black belt within a year. 315 squats for reps. I threw my back out a couple years ago and I was squatting pretty good and I hadn't pushed myself. So when I back at the gym, I want to get to 315 squats for reps. And then keep another physical gains going. Financial freedom through multiple sources of income. So at my job, I want to be making $500K a year in income. Right now it varies a little bit, so I want to study out my sales income and pipeline, and then I want to get my investment income up a lot higher. So right now I'm bringing in maybe like 50K gross in passive income. I'd love to, see 10x that. I want to bring my wife along for the journey. Sometimes in the past, I think I'd have ideas and kind of rapid fire the ideas, but it wasn't really a partnership. So I want to bring her in, tap into her wisdom and her ideas, and have that be really a part of partnership and unity for us.
Okay, good. So for the guys who did not finish their homework, I want you to understand: no vision, no purpose, no outcome. Well, you'll have an outcome. It just won't be the desired one. Yes, sir, Patrick.
My spiritual vision, I already know that I'm a child of God. My body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, but I'll continue to pursue wisdom, knowledge, and righteousness till the day I die. The purpose of my spiritual is to move through life being set apart from the world, different in a way that everyone knows that there's something different about me, and a certainty of who I am in Christ that radiates from me in a way that others are drawn to me, in a curiosity so I may share the knowledge of what I've learned. My vision for emotional, to get to the point where nothing riles me or upsets me, being calm and in control, knowing that there's a solution to every issue. Purpose of my emotional is to be able to control the conversations and situations I find myself in daily. My vision of my physical. In 6 months, I want to be down to 185, which that's not very far. I've played volleyball for the last 35 years, so I've kept myself in pretty good shape. But anyway, I could lose a few pounds, and being cut wouldn't be a bad thing. So I want to get a little leaner and put on a little more muscle, and get to a point where I look like a don't mess with me machine. I will be moving. So I'm going to start moving from right now. I'm doing just a little 15-minute workout, but I'm changing up from push-ups to planks, and then I'm switching over to I got a rowing machine that I do that I'm changing up with every other 3-4 days. I'm kind of changing back and forth. So I want to get to where I'm doing double the number of sets that I'm doing in each of those. And I've already seen just the little bit that I'm doing that it's making my arms cut up a little bit better. But my purpose is just to be healthier, because I still got a lot of work to do, and I want to be healthy through my retirement years also. My vision for my financial is to continue building equity in the home that I have. Where I've got a few rooms to go on it, and just improving the property that I have. And we just actually signed a contract for 10 acres last night, a half-mile down the road from me. So we are going to start improving that property also to, I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I don't see that I can lose money at the price I got it for. So,
okay, there you go.
Yeah. And so the purpose is to be able to do what I want, when I want, building a retirement plan.
Okay.
Let me just step in for a second. I'm loving everyone's. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. What I would say is you all talk every single day, giving your discovery and declares. You weigh in on each other's situations. But I don't see any, well, I don't know if you are or not, but as soon as you said I have 10 acres and I don't know what to do with it, I mean, the first person I thought of was Percy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Percy, you should connect with Percy through a direct Marco and ask him about his experience with land. I mean, do you know who this guy is? Do you know what this guy has done? So I'm just saying there's so much wisdom in this group in specific areas that you can lean on each other just to get insight.
Oh, it's not that I don't have ideas what we're going to do with it. I just have too many ideas.
Oh, I see.
That's why you want to share with the group. Like, so if you guys have wins and losses going on in your life, you should bring them to the group, because you don't know who's in your group. Like, you have no idea who's in your group. I have an idea of almost
For
everything.
real. Like there's some people in this group, if you only knew.
If you only knew. For real. Like,
Yeah.
and
Real
I have
talk.
that, so the crazy part is I have another group that's like my old SLM group. These young guys are all not married. They're all individuals. I have one guy who wants to be a singer. I have a Grammy award-winning multi-platinum producer in the same group. They never talked. They never talked. They're in the same group. They never talked. Here's a guy who's built like hits that almost every one of you know. And they're in the same group. But he never shared his vision until we got in the mastery section. And the other guy never shared what he did for a living. He knew he's in music, but he didn't know that, like, this guy's walked the Grammy stage 6 times. You know what I mean? So you're not going to know if you don't share it, like your wins, your losses, your fears, your hurts, your battles. Share them with the group. Like, you don't have to tell them everything, but, just, hey, look, had a bad setback today. Or, hey, I just landed 10 acres today. Don't know what I'm going to do with it. I bought 10 acres in West Virginia with a partner for what was it, $12K after closing on a mountaintop in a development that never got built from the crash. We sold it for 20. We didn't know what we were going to do with it. We just went up there and used to shoot guns because you could do that in West Virginia. And turned around and sold it like a year and a half later for $30,000.
Hey, Jeff, can I say something to Patrick right now? And
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, Sonny. Patrick, for the last 6 months to 8 months, I've been looking for land. I wish I could have land 10 acres. I'll tell you what I'll do with it, 10 acres. It wouldn't be no hesitation.
Yeah,
All right. So especially if you're buying it for a song,
right.
Yeah. So yeah, there's places in this country.
I hope that ain't going one end right out the other. I hope and I pray to God, Patrick, you do what we're saying and you reach out to him. Just kick ideas back and forth. Trust me, that's the guy right there. And I don't want to call anybody out. I know who you all are. I know. But I'm going to be respectful because that's your job to tell people who you are and what you do. But I'm just saying there's nothing but power in this group. Period.
You'd be surprised how few of you guys actually reach out to me. I've got 3 in here that reach out to me on a regular basis. That's it. But like, we're here for a reason, So, and I love doing that stuff. Like, you throw me an idea, I'll give you 45 ways to skin it. Here's and not every area is my expertise. Real estate is more Kasani, Piercy, those guys. That's not my thing. I know a lot about it. I worked in the industry, but it's just not my thing. But here's the deal. Let's get into Ikigai because I don't want to go too far. But definitely lean on the power of the group, man. Get to know each other for real. Like, your network is your net worth. I'm telling you right now, like, it really is. People don't understand that. But like, every major deal I had was some guy I used to just smoke a cigar with, or didn't realize, oh, you know about that? Next thing you know, we got a business together. Or we do a deal together. All right, let's go. So anyone who didn't do their homework, do it. I want it next week. All right. This is mastery. This isn't kindergarten. We need to do this type of stuff. This is like important to your daily life. Like, it's not like, do a bunch of math problems that you're never going to use. This is stuff that you should be using. Ikigai. Where are we? Give me a second. Let me just get it set up. So how do you find your passion and your purpose? How do you do that? Okay. So Ikigai can be described, as figuring out these 4 concepts. Notice how these 4s keep coming at you. What is it that the world needs? We're going to start with that. A lot of us go, what do I want to do? I want to do this, and I want to push this idea on the world. Wrong. Because you already have that in your mind, you're only going to see what the world needs that you have to offer, because that's all you're going to have available to you. If you can see that the world needs it, it probably aligns somewhere with something you're capable of doing. So we're going to start with, what is it that the world needs? What is it that you're good at? Right? I want you to write these questions down. This is homework for next week. Now, what you're good at, you might say, well, that's what I love. I'm going to tell you, a lot of times what we're good at and what we actually love are two different things. And a lot of times something we love became something we were good at, and then we no longer love it anymore. So for instance, I do not like marketing, but I'm very good at it. I used to love marketing, but I'm bored with it. It's easy for me now. Right? I used to love Legos, but I got over it because I played with them too many times. You know what I mean? Used to love video games, used to love sports. There's a bunch of things I used to love that I'm good at, but I don't love them anymore. So what is it that you're good at? What is it that you love? What drives you? What are you passionate about? Like, you need to write down 10, 15 things that you can see. And then what is it that you can be paid for? These 4 questions are going to unlock everything for those of you who are trying to start businesses. And for those of you who are trying to get better jobs or better employment. Because where these 4 questions, where the answers intersect, is what we call Ikigai. Just want to make sure something real quick. Yeah. Okay. So Ikigai is a concept that literally means to find your purpose, to find your passion, what you're like, the intersection of these 4 questions. So when we're looking at it, what is it the world needs? This whole concept of Ikigai is connecting and helping the people who give meaning to your life, your family, your friends, your coworkers, your community. What is it that those people around you, now your community may be the world, if your product is big enough, it serves enough people, or reaches far enough, or has the ability to scale to that point. But if you start around family, friends, coworkers, community, it'll help you define what you know best, right? How would that serve those people that they absolutely need? This need can be perceived need or an actual need. So let me give you a wild one. I live in a little country town, pretty much, with a bunch of city folk that moved over here from the city to get away from the city. It's what they call Philadelphia bedroom community. There is no Mediterranean food. And everyone I talk to is always fiending for Mediterranean food. We all drive 20, 30, 40 minutes. So since there's a desire, perceived need for Mediterranean food there's no Greek food, there's no Turkish food, there's no Arab food, there's Italian, we have a lot of Italian, too much Italian, to be honest. And there's no, like Spain, Spanish food. We have Mexican food, that's different. There's none of that Mediterranean flavor here. So is there a need? Based on the people I've talked to, there is. Okay. So someone who's good at that, also has a passion for that, can obviously get paid for that around here. Right? So the intersection of that could be a great business idea. So we ask ourselves that question: what is it the world needs? Now, what can I help? What can I do to help or connect my community, my family? Is it a product? Is it a service? Right? Is it lessons that I'm teaching? What could actually help that? What is it that you're good at? Ikigai can be a very simple daily ritual or the practice of a new hobby. Ikigai is more about growth rather than mastery. So what is it that you're good at? Typically what you're good at, you grow in, you're working on, you're perfecting. It's a craft for you. Right? What is it that you love? Ikigai can be something you love or are passionate about, but you can find ikigai in all areas of your life and places that you would least expect. Ikigai is more about living your values and finding meaning and purpose in daily living, regardless of what constraints you may have. Just want to give you the definitions of these things so you can kind of figure out what you would do. The whole idea is it's something that that gives your life meaning. So, and I'll give you mine in a second. What is it that you can be paid for? It's not just the pursuit of professional success or financial freedom. The Japanese wouldn't associate making money with ikigai. Success and accumulation of wealth could be a byproduct of your ikigai, but it'll never be the focus. For Azad, that applies to you. It shouldn't be the making the money. It should be the success of the vision that you have, the byproduct of which would be money. Okay? Kind of give you an idea. I'm good at marketing, but I don't love it. So no ikigai there. What is it the world needs? This is me. I'm just giving you me. I realize that there's a deficit in men who've had positive, uplifting role models and guidance in the realm of manhood in a world where X-Gen, most of us are X-Gen or a little bit before, a little bit after. Prior to that, the baby boomers we had basically had this factory worker mentality, whether it's corporate America or being in a factory, that literally just came home and watched TV at night. And so no one really showed us how to do anything other than go to school and get a good job, which doesn't work anymore the way it used to. Because corporate America doesn't give us pensions anymore, and they don't take care of us. So since that promise that was started in the 1920s and failed by the 1960s has been dead, and the same lessons are being taught and passed down over and over and over again, it's even become part of the educational system, makes you a great worker, doesn't really prepare you for retirement or your future. What the world needs is men who know how to survive on their own and understand the world is primal and no one's going to come help them or serve them. So I realize this, except themselves, and themselves who understand that together in a community can actually work and do something. But without the understanding that the world is primal, they're going to have a problem. So there, what am I good at? I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at figuring that out for myself. And I was pretty good at teaching other people to do it. That's why I've been able to, help create 25 millionaires in the last 26 now, millionaires in the last 5 years. Might be 27. I have a guy who's right on the door. What is that you love? Well, I'm passionate about this stuff, right? And what can you be paid for? Well, it wasn't until recently, but I started doing this coaching thing as a additional income. Now, the crazy part about it is I got a mentor right now who makes $3 million a month doing this. So I guess I can get paid for it in a way I didn't even imagine. The world needs it. I'm good at it. I love doing it. I'm passionate about it. And I can get paid for it. And I've got a rule one who's doing all of the above. That is an ikigai, place where everything intersects. So a lot of us are looking at life and we have 2 of the 4, 3 of the 4, maybe only 1 of the 4. The worst person in the world is the person who tries to push something they love on everyone's throat when they don't need it. Everybody met that guy, right? Most of the MLM people that come to me, oh man, I just started my business. Not knocking it, but I'm not selling your Amway products, dude. Not my thing. Might be somebody else's thing, not my thing, right? But they are convinced they love it. So they think everyone needs it. I don't need it. Right? But they're trying to force you into the idea that you need it. How can I take something I love and force it on something you don't love? Oh, but man, you just need to come to a meeting. No. You want to get to me? Find something I actually need and come to me with that. Then demonstrate that you're good at it. And show me why you love it. And then tell me how much you want for it. but find something I need. Don't present me something you want to sell me. Present me something that I need, that you just know I need. If you don't do it that way, it doesn't work. It doesn't resonate. Any questions on this so far?
What is the definition of, like, how do you pronounce the word?
Ikigai. I have a little video. I was going to show it next week. I guess I can do it today. Hold on. Yeah,
I thought Ikigai was an absolute, having absolute balance within, or is that, am I completely off with that?
that's one way of interpreting it. It would be all those things. If you think about it, you just said the same thing.
Okay.
Think about it.
Hey, Jeff, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
It's the third one. Is you said, well, it said, what is it that you love? Once you determine what you love, then you have to work on the process of how can you get it out to the people that you're trying to convince that you have something that they need.
If someone needs it, you don't need to convince them. Dude, I'm hungry. Great. I own a restaurant. Come on in. There's no convincing. You're hungry. The number one problem that businessmen have is trying to force people to go along with an idea where there is no need. We're baiting waters where the fish don't eat bread, they eat fish. If I can just figure that out, oh yeah, I might be able to go convince somebody that they need something, but look at all the effort that you have to do. If I go in a room full of starving workers and I pull up in a food truck, do you think I have to convince anyone that I'm selling food?
No, but if it's not food and it's something that you can help people get started, like if I can use Patrick in our group as an example, he has 10 acres of land. And I have what it takes to get the process started. How can I advertise that? Or I know about business plans and all that, but I'm at a different level now where I'm not thinking about putting one together. Maybe I need to show people how to do it, is I guess what I'm trying to get at.
Your book is called Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, and it'll show you exactly how to sell information, to take your knowledge and your expertise and turn it into, well, he made it into now he just hit 480 million company that he never took a single loan for, never borrowed or took an investor. The guy is one of my warrior brothers. Like, yeah, that book, legit roll one on that, man. Mormon dude from Utah.
Yeah.
That dude is the bizarre at information sales. And Instagram is your best friend, Percy. You need to start talking. The fish will come. All you got to do is put the bait in the water. You have to come up with a message, tell your story, tell them what you can do, have a plan, and get on Insta. They will come to you. The algorithm will teach them to find you the more content you produce. But that book will help you with it.
And if I can add to what he just said, you could be a faker and read something and then get on Instagram and talk about it, and then read something and then get on Instagram and talk about it. But what would separate you from others is that you have lived it. So the more you talk about it, you expose yourself. If you listen to people long enough, you could tell who's real and who's not. You could just tell. All you need to do is ask them one question that'll trip them up, and then they're exposed. But there's a depth and breadth of knowledge that you have. And so what I'm noticing now is that a lot of people on social media, they're not just talking about their knowledge, they're showing the evidence and the results of it, right? So rather than saying, hey, you can have 10 acres of land if you just do this, rather than that, show them your 10 acres of land. Show them what you've done. Like, you bear the fruit and the evidence, and now you become a believer.
You tell them your story about what you acquired and how you sold it off and how you kept the land and you keep the real estate. And this is how you do it, fellas, because I have this much and I know what I'm doing. You show that. And then every time you do a deal, you show that. Every time you meet with other people who are doing it, you show that. You literally have a platform that the whole world uses. And you have an algorithm that teaches people who follow that. Like I always tell guys, if girls first of all, girls are going to pop up in your Instagram on one of the pages anyway. That's just going to happen. You have no choice on that. But your feed doesn't have to have girls in it. If it has girls in it, that means you spent 3 seconds looking at a girl or longer. If your feed, my feed is nothing but basketball videos because I'm shooting stuff to my son all the time. It's workout stuff, calisthenics, aerobic, kind of craziness like that, and a bunch of motivational guys. That's all that's in my feed. And the reason why that's all that's in my feed, and I only see a girl maybe once every 4 or 5 days, unless they're working out, is because the algorithm knows what you look at. So once you know that, you got to realize that if you're in there talking about real estate, the algorithm knows you're talking about real estate. People that keep watching real estate videos or buying land or making deals, they're going to see you. You come out with a few motivational videos. Now you got people that like motivation seeing your stuff along with the fact that you do real estate. You see what I'm saying?
There's a 3-step process that I have followed, and all of you are proof of it because Jeff carries this out as well. Step number one, you have to become an information provider. Okay. So you're constantly giving information. Your consistency in being an information provider, whatever routine that is, how consistent you are, you then transition into becoming a trusted advisor. Does that make sense? I'm dropping so much information. I'm blowing your mind. You're like, oh my God, I want more. I want more. I want more. You transition into become a trusted advisor. Once you become a trusted advisor, that will lead to customer loyalty. Now you have them for life, period. And so here's an example of this. So you've come into Foundry. He drops information daily in the Marco Polo every single week. So much so from a variety of different subject matters that he's become, in many regards, a trusted advisor as it relates to the compass, as it relates to the 4 securities. And because of that, it was a no-brainer when Foundry Mastery was introduced to you, right? It just made sense. Like, if you got so much on one level, what are you going to get on the next level? So there's a loyalty to it because you know that you're getting information, wisdom, experience, and guidance and insight from somebody who's walking the talk, who's living the life, who has the results, who bears the fruit. And so if you take that 3-step process, you're guaranteed, Percy, you don't have to go pitch in anything. They're going to come to you. You become the magnet that they draw themselves to. Like, real talk, I don't mean to take over. Sorry. Patrick, you listen, he came to my home, okay, for a private marriage intensive with this lovely wife. And he did in 3 minutes what I've hired 5 contractors to do that they could not do. He has mastery level skill when it comes to all things concerning carpentry, right? If he wanted more clients, all he would have to do is do instructional videos, showing what he does, breaking down the expertise. He will win over so many clients. So it's not about, hey, will you take my services? Hey, will you hire me? Hey, will you give me a chance? No, let your value speak for you, your wisdom speak for you.
And you're in a world where that matters more than ever. And you know, the biggest tingle in your spine is when you actually teach something and you know that it was your teaching and you hear it come out of somebody else's mouth and they don't even remember where they got it from. Information provider, trusted advisor, customer loyalty is something I've been teaching for 15 years since I was a trainer, and I came up with it. And so to hear that come out of Hassani's mouth was like a tingle in your spine, and it's a representation of exactly what he's talking about. The information provider became a trusted advisor, earns a loyalty to the concepts, the ideas that you put out. He just was a representation of the same thing he was teaching. You see what I'm saying? And I guarantee you, until I just said it, he probably didn't remember I was the one that came up with that.
All of my wisdom comes from
No,
that.
it doesn't. It's just that one.
Whether
Just
I
that
acknowledge
one.
it or not.
But it was like a warming feeling to hear it come out of somebody's mouth. Like, whoa, that's one of my lessons. But I guarantee you didn't remember I came up with that.
No.
But that's what I love about it. That's what the whole idea is that it becomes viral. And at some point, people don't even know where they got it from, but it's still going. It's still being said, still being done. And that's because the information was provided first, right? And it became a concept in their mind where they trusted that, and then they use it. There's a loyalty to the idea, the concept that you create. He just exemplified it. Exactly what he was teaching, he just exemplified it. Okay? So that's why I say you don't have to convince anyone. You just have to get out there and talk, especially today. We live in an attention-based economy, and social media is the platform that allows you to buy attention for very cheap, just labor, effort, and talk and time. Will get you an audience if you're doing something the world needs, right? You know what? I'm going to save this video for next week because I want to get a little further into the lesson. Just because we don't have a ton of time. I know you guys hang out, but okay, we did this. I want to get this out because we're going to go deeper into this in a little bit. So let me just show you this here. Where'd it go? There we go. All right. So this is how it all ties together. This is messy. So I want you to screenshot this. Let me blow it up. I want you to screenshot this. And I want you to use this because I'm going to go through it. But I want you to kind of play with it and see how it all connects. So what you see is what the world needs, what you can be paid for, what you're good at, what you love. They all intersect in the meaning in the middle, ikigai, a reason for being. Now, what you're going to see is there's places where these things intersect, where they create something for you, but they don't necessarily always bleed into the other thing. And this is where the complication begins. So if I have what I love mixed with what the world needs, that becomes a mission. If I have what the world needs and something that I can be paid for, that becomes a vocation. If I have something that I'm good at and I can be paid for it, that is a profession. And if I have what I'm good at and what I love, that becomes a passion. If I can find a way to create passion, mission, vocation, and profession together, I will have a reason for being. A complete reason for being. Does that help understand what Ikigai is a little bit, Percy? I know this is messy, but that's why I want you to screenshot this.
I did. Thanks.
Okay. For instance, if I have what I love and what the world needs, I will find delight and fullness, but no wealth. Because I can't be paid for it. Right? If I find what the world needs and what I can be paid for, I'll have excitement and complacency, but a sense of uncertainty because it's not about my passion. It's not about what I'm good at. Right? I may not love it. I'm not good at it. If I can find what you're good at and what you can be paid for, you're comfortable, but there's a feeling of emptiness because you don't have this thing that you love and you don't have what the world really desires. If I can find what I'm good at and what I love, that creates passion, that'll give me a sense of satisfaction, but a feeling of uselessness because I can't get paid for it, and the world doesn't necessarily need it. So you see how you've probably felt all of these things in something you were doing? This sense of incompleteness. It's because you couldn't find or define something that intersected. Right? So we look at this. What does the world need first? You're going to be drawn to the ones that identify with these opposite sides automatically if you look at what the world needs. If someone presents you what the world needs and you go try to fit into that block, a lot of us do that. Like we hear about a business opportunity, right? And we go get drawn in on the business opportunity of a lifetime. You know, you're going to buy a bridge in Brooklyn and everything's going to be good and Gordon's going to sell it to you. And, you know, and they try to convince you, but it doesn't really align with what you're good at or your passion or your purpose. You know, and you try to make it work because the opportunity is so great. I have people present me with those things all the time. I'm just like, not my thing. Right? Not passionate about it. That's why I turn it down. But man, you don't understand. It's got to be a good idea. Man, everybody's making money. Yeah, not my thing. And people don't understand why I don't want to do it. It's because it's not my thing. You can't force that. Right? It either aligns with who you are or it doesn't. Right? So you want to start there. Don't leave it to chance. Start figuring out what the world needs. Start creating lists. This is your homework, by the way. What does the world need? Write down 10 things you think the world really needs. Maybe that world is just your world, your immediate community, your, you know, your neighborhood, your town, your region, your state, you know. Then you're going to simply move over to what you're good at. Explore and develop rare and valuable skills that make the world a better place. Become so good at it that they can't ignore you. Right? So what you're good at, like drive that hard, especially if it aligns with something that the world needs. Become so good at it, people can't ignore you. You're going to hear me say it over and over. Undeniable, irreplaceable. Like I am literally getting my certified professional trainer. Do you think I'm ever going to train anyone anywhere? But the reason is I speak to you men about fitness all the time, and it would be great to actually say I'm a certified personal trainer. I'm only getting it for that reason, so it helps me with the rest of my purpose because I have one quadrant that is not complete. Then I can level up in all the other quadrants because I don't have a weakness anymore. Does that make sense? What is it that you love? Happiness will come from a combination of competence, being good at it, right? You know about competence, autonomy, having the freedom to do what you love, by a sense of belonging, through creativity, because you're able to create it because it's part of what you're good at and what you love, and it creates impact, right? Then we move to 4. What can you be paid for? If you have rare and valuable skills and you're solving an important problem, the money will follow. A lot of us are chasing the perfect chest, but nobody wants to do the push-up, the process that gets you there. Fall in love with the process. The outcome is certain. I'm telling you all right now, if you do 1,000 push-ups a day, every other day for the next year, you will see a dramatic, and you lose body fat so that you can actually see it. You will have a dramatic development in your chest, especially if you vary the push-ups. The process will get you there. Most of us have jacked up processes, and we want to get to the outcome, but we're not willing to do the process that's required to get there. Okay. So when we do this, we're looking at how these things intersect. We're trying to avoid having one weak area here. We want to find passion, mission, vocation, and profession. The reason why I'm having you memorize the questions is because if I say passion, people forget what that means. If I say mission, people forget what that means. These are the intersections of these things. I just want you to understand, does the world need it? Can I get paid for it? Am I good at it? And do I love doing it? These are four simple questions. Now, who in here can actually raise their hand and say they're doing something that is their ikigai? I'm doing it right now. My other companies are not my ikigai. There's 2 or 3 of these things intersecting. How I make my money has nothing to do with my ikigai. Eventually, I'm hoping that actually not hoping, I'm working towards making that my main driver. I'm turning all the other into passive. It took a long time and a lot of convincing for me to actually make this something that I could get paid for and an ikigai. I'm just being real with you. Like, kicking and screaming, right, Hassani? Like, I got drugged into this kicking and screaming. That's why it's important that you have great people around you giving you advice. If some of you saw the video I put in the other day, it says some of you are having your dreams torn down by people who aren't qualified to help you build them. And so it's important to have people like I have Hassani who will literally like, dude, what are you doing? I'll never forget, he came up from Costa Rica and walked into my shack of a house in a rough neighborhood in Philadelphia when I was making, easy 5 figures, 50 grand a month. And he was like, why are you living here, dude? You can move.
I'm in the camera. I
had to have somebody who helped me see that my vision had to align with all the other stuff. And doing this to, like, as I only did it to people, these lessons, I only talked to people that I knew and were close referrals.
Can I say something? Sorry, guys, I gotta go. It's 10 o'clock. And you'll be on for another 3 hours. But this right here is what is really all about. And I have never personally seen it put together in such a comprehensive way that covers every single angle. Like that right there is worthy of a deep dive study. These are the quintessential questions that you should be asking yourself and go along the journey till you get to your ikigai. And I'm going to tell you something. Not only will you be making a tremendous amount of income, but you'll be making a tremendous amount of impact on the world. Why can't you have both? So I'm telling you, like, this is one of my favorite lessons, because once you get in this flow, life changes. It really does.
This is actually what getting in the flow means. So some of you will have the book Flow, some of you have read it already, some of you will see Art of the Impossible, which gets heavily into flow. This is how you stay in flow, is making sure these things align. Anyway, flow, for those, all right, gentlemen. Flow, for those who don't know, you know how they go, yo, that dude is in a rhythm, or he's got his, what do they call it? There's a word, juju or whatever. I don't know. Like, somebody's got like, he's hot right now, like basketball. Like, this dude's in a
zone, having swag.
In a zone. There you go. That's what flow is. It's in the zone. This makes everything you do in the zone. The emptiness you guys are feeling and anything that you're doing is because all 4 of these don't align. You might find 3 of them so it's acceptable, 2 of them so you're willing to do it, 1 of them so you're struggling and hating everyday grind. But when all 4 of these things align, and when you really, really do the explore and develop a skill, very valuable and rare skills that make the world better, become so good at it that they can't ignore you, that's the thing that will separate you from the pack, because nobody's focused on that. They're too worried about how they feel this morning. I'm telling you right now, it is great to learn how to master your emotions. It is great to understand EDOS. It is great to learn the 5 power bases. But I'm going to tell you what's even greater is having a true reason for being. And if you have a reason for being, your emotions will fall in line and you'll be able to convince other people that they should fall behind you. And the 5 power bases will all fall into place, and you'll only have to use the rules of the 4 power bases in extreme circumstances. And you only need to manipulate emotions when crisis happens. Because when you have vision and purpose, I'm telling you right now, when I'm 100% on my vision and purpose and I'm grinding it out, my wife is like right behind me all the way, as long as I don't ignore her in the process. And it's because I'm in my ikigai that I don't ignore her. Does that make sense? I'm not saying I don't have days. I definitely have days. I've had weeks where I ignore things because things get busy, right? But when I'm actually 100% in flow and I'm keeping it aligned, there's time for all of it. The reason why you feel like you don't have time is because you're not in flow. You're not an ikigai. When you have this, it becomes the driver that makes emotion not something you worry about. You can't be depressed in ikigai. All of your stuff is being aligned. All 4 EDOS is aligned. Look at that. If you really pay attention to it, you'll see it aligns with EDOS. You have the endorphins of the excitement of doing something that you love. You have this sense of belonging to community that gives you the oxytocin. You have the dopamine hits of having a mission, right? You have the serotonin, the reward, what you're getting paid for, what you can be rewarded for. Not just monetarily, sometimes it's another way. My biggest serotonin hits are when I, have Anthony will call me and be like, yo, that building project I was on, we just finished it. That's a huge hit for me, dopamine-wise. I mean, serotonin-wise. Because I know that I had something to do with it. When I hear Hassani literally just spat out the exact words out of my mouth that I taught him over 10 years ago, that was a serotonin hit. Oh my God, it stuck. And he said it exactly like I taught it, which is even more amazing. Like, it's literally on the 70 hours of he literally recorded me for over 70 hours. Just phone conversations. And so I have this repository of all of our conversations, and that was in one of them. Because I was just listening to that one the other day. It was crazy how you just brought that out. Information provider becomes a trusted advisor. Trusted advisor earns customer loyalty. So here we are, gentlemen. I'm going to show a video on this, and we're going to discuss it this week. Obviously, what your homework is answer those 4 questions, right? We don't have to worry about quadrants this week. You know why? Because this should align all your quadrants in some way. Does that make sense? Hello?
Yeah.
Makes sense, for sure.
Yes, makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
I have
One
unstable connection. Sorry about that, gentlemen. You don't really have to worry about the quadrants so much. Maybe the physical one may not fall 100% into this for you. But other than that, you don't have to worry about quadrants because then technically these should align with at least the 3 quadrants. Does that make sense? It should give you time for the physical quadrant. But it should hit spiritual, emotional, and financial at a minimum. So answer those questions, answer them in detail, give several examples of what you think the world needs. Let's try not to go too big. Like, don't put world peace down there because I don't think many of your ideas are going to get us world peace. All right. I mean, unless you work at the Pentagon and pretty high ranking and have enough power and influence to get to POTUS, you're probably not going to pull that off. So let's.
Hey, Jeff, question. So the 10 things that you want us to write about the world needs, isn't that from our perspective though, of what we think the
That's
world
the purpose.
needs? Yeah.
That's the purpose. So the reason why I say we start there with what the world needs is because you are incredibly subjective as a human being, right? Meaning that you're subject to your own emotional desires. You're going to be looking at what the world needs from your perspective and through your perception. And therefore, it's going to be biased. I want it to be biased. I just want it to be logical. As long as it's logical and biased together, you should be looking at what the world needs as something you can identify because you see it on a daily basis or you see it on a regular basis or in a way that, and you don't have to be super with it. It could literally be like my town needs a Mediterranean restaurant. But just think about that. The more people you can serve at a higher dollar amount, the more money you're going to make. So, for instance, it only takes, like, you should always be thinking in calculations of how many I got to sell. So if I have $1,000 product, how many do I need to sell in order to make $1 million? I need to sell 1,000 of them. That's doable in a year. It's, a little less than 100 a month. 80 a month will get me almost there. 85 a month will definitely get me there, right? You got to be able to break things down in that way. I'm going to make myself a millionaire, but I'm selling hot dogs. Good luck. I'll see you 20 stores later. 20 hot dog stands later, maybe. Because you're at a hot dog stand, like the best ones in the city on the busiest days in the world make $3,000. Right. And so you'd have to run that best day every day for a year, all day, every day, no days off to get to that $1 million.
Out of work.
Huh? Any questions? Comments? Is it starting to align, guys? Are you starting to see how this all ties together?
Yeah, I'm seeing how it's working together right now. The graph that you put up was a good visual to actually kind of connect everything.
Yeah, it's messy, but if you actually walk through it, it starts to make a lot of sense.
I'm personally catching on slowly, but I'm catching on. I don't know where everyone else is in the group, but that's where I'm at.
I think Percy's the master learner in here. He always says he's learning behind. He's always saying he's slow.
Jeff,
Yeah.
you remind me of my wife. You give me
You know
too
what?
much
You know what I
credit.
learned about rich
You
people?
give me no, Jeff.
You know what I
give me
learned
too
about
much
rich
credit.
people? They always self-deprecate. They always put themselves down. That's a fact. They do it. They do it. It's a fact.
Well, I was going to say I'm a little slow in the evening. My brain functions better in the morning. So maybe I'll put it together after I sleep and wake up in the morning.
Hey, Patrick, you see what you just said? If I'd have said that, Jeff and Asani would have jumped all over me.
You're right.
See, I can't win.
It's because I'm not rich. That's why.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm telling you, like the guys that put this stuff into practice. By the way, you fives, I'm very, very serious about this. You fives and all you introvert numbers, I'm serious. If you're not doing Toastmasters, get on it. Like somebody, like seriously, put it on your schedule to find a local Toastmasters and become a good speaker, because the problem is you guys don't tell your story. Most, I'm telling you, like the fives I know usually have these amazing stories, but they're always like, they think their life is boring and they're not good enough yet. Not good enough yet to tell my story. And the truth of the matter is, the only way you make money is to tell your story. Every 3 in here knows that. Every 7 in here knows that. 8s do too. Because we're the guys who have to go tell our stories all the time.
Right about that, Jeff. Seems like I've been telling my story all my life.
That's it. You're
Man.
3, right?
I'm a 3. You're right.
Yeah, I know you are. So us 3s, we run our mouths all day, every day. We can't even stop running our mouths. People just wish we'd shut up sometimes.
But we're trying to get what we want, though.
That's it. We have to be seen as successful. That's just what it is. We have to be seen as successful. The healthy version of us really cares about creating safety and security for other people. The toxic version of us will lie, cheat, steal, and do whatever to get whatever we need to do to be seen.
That's 100% on point from my personal experience.
Well, yeah, it's sevens.
Both aspects of it.
Sevens have a tendency to do that too. They also have a tendency to run from issues, or I mean, they will literally abandon everything to get away from a serious situation. But they also like to have fun.
And I've done that. Just abandoning shit because I'm 7, 8.
Sevens are the kings and queens of ghosting people. They can completely ghost someone, like just disappear on them.
No, that I've never done.
Well, you don't necessarily have to embody that, but they're good at it.
I think we're a little bit better on my end of the spectrum.
Well, eights, you guys just think you're in charge of everything until somebody proves that they're intelligent to you, because you only admire intelligence. You guys are sapios. And so if someone's not smarter than you, then they're not worthy. So why you can't work for anybody dumber than you unless they're listening to you. If they're not listening to you and taking your advice and giving you a space to be your own commander, they're an idiot, this dumb, blah, 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 curse them 7 ways from Sunday. Yeah, that's an 8. I don't recognize a lot of 8s, and the reason why I don't recognize a lot of 8s is because of how much time I've spent reading and learning about different things. 8s don't show me their 8 side because they actually have respect for what I know about whatever I talk about. My old 3 self would get in trouble with 8s because I would talk about what I don't know about. They wouldn't be able to back it up. My new 3 self has a book that I'll give you for every subject, and I can tell you probably which chapter it was in and probably show you a picture of the guy that wrote it standing next to me. And so 8s just fall in line with that. They're like, man, all right. 8s also have a desire to take me out, but they want to earn it. They don't want to do it the wrong way. They always want to be the man. That they always have it. They're always playing king of the hill, but they'll never make an attempt unless they know they earned it. When you learn this stuff, playing with people in the world is like really, really easy because I know what this person needs. I know, like, if I get a 2 and she's starting to get whiny and complaining, or a guy who's a 2 and starts to get whiny and complaining, all I have to do is give him an assignment and tell him, I'm really proud of you. Because that's all 2 wants. Like, give the 2 the bills to pay and tell her how important it is, and she will literally just go pay your bills. And if you go pat them on the head and say, oh my God, that was such a relief, thank you. They feel needed and wanted, and your 2 will automatically be the happiest person in the world. It's so easy. Now, for the 1s, that's tougher because they're like perfectionists. And so they want checklists. You know what I mean? It's harder to make a 1 happy. 6s are like, as long as you don't violate their idea of honesty and trust, you're good with a 6. You'll never even notice that they have like cages getting ready to fall from the ceiling and lockdown stuff. So like you just gotta know these. Once you learn Enneagram, like read about it, learn about it, then try to figure out who you're dealing with. Learn about Myers-Briggs and figure out what people are good at. Learn about, you're gonna learn the 4 temperaments either probably the week after next. So I'd like to spend 2 weeks on each subject here. But the 4 temperaments usually goes right next to the power bases. But the 4 temperaments is the basis for all learnings about Enneagram, because that's where it comes from. Myers-Briggs. And so you're going to learn these things. And when you start seeing them in the world, and when you find your purpose, right, and you're working in your purpose, then managing all these people using these other things becomes easy. It actually almost becomes fun. Yes, sir, Ben.
Jeff is very right on that. As a shop manager, I love the fact that I can play around with the Enneagram and identify that on the work site. It makes it a lot easier.
8's running packs, so all they have to do is find a common mission and bang.
There's 4 of us at work. The owner of the company, my drafter, and my CNC operator, and myself. It's awesome.
All he has to do is have a stronger vision than them. The way he becomes a stronger vision than them is to know more about how to do the things. So all the certifications he got last year, literally all the certifications he took in Foundry, not last year, this year, Foundry in his Foundry class, all those certifications led to him being able to go into this job and be like, project manager should be doing this and project manager should be doing that. And this is how we Six Sigma the situation. And this is how all that classes he took are literally allowing him to lead his bosses. And they're like, where did this guy come from? He's in a lower level than where he should be, but undeniable and irreplaceable.
Which is true. In fact, my boss, my GM, and the HR department and myself are going to sit down so we can have accountability tracking software on our employees to track how much labor hours are going to go into our jobs so we could start bidding more accurately, because I pointed out we fucking need it.
So that he came up with when he was taking the classes during last Foundry class in one of the side courses he was taking. So he's just going in and repeating the wisdom from the professors that taught it to him, right? And they're going, wow, where did this guy come from? This is why we read every day, because when you start getting into, you're doing a lot of mindset books, right? Most of you guys are doing mindset books. But when you start moving into skill set books, you move in a workplace or you move out in the world in business, and people are just like, wow, 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 wow. And here I can get you with that on mindset. But if you start getting into technical acumen and we start talking about software development, I can't program myself out of wet paper bag compared to the people that work for me. But I can tell you how it's done. I can tell you the thought processes that go into every single step. I can tell you how we Six Sigma it out. I am a Scrum Master. I can teach you how we do our agile workflow as opposed to waterfall workflow. I can tell you where waterfall comes in and is more appropriate. Very rarely, but right. So when I describe those processes to people, they swear to God, I'm in the day-to-day grind. I'm not. That's just how we set the company up. I'm out of it. I don't talk to nobody. I don't even know what's going on right now. I got customers call me. Like I have one customer that's like, we built a real close bond. He calls me every day asking me what's going on with the project. It's like, I don't know. Stay out of the kitchen. I let the chefs cook. I just own a restaurant, man. I get in there and the chefs will cut me up. As long as they follow the recipe, let it be. You know? But you got to be able to talk to. He's like, man, you know all this stuff and you don't even do anything. I'm like, well, what I do is I built the system. I let them do the work. He's like, man, I wish I could have a job like that. I'm like, well, look, dude, I know you're getting upset, but like, if I build a computer to do the processes, I would look like an idiot if I got in there and tried to do the calculations the computer does. I build a machine, I get out of the way. I put the data input in and let it do the work. Right? That's the goal. When you get into your ikigai, you can do that kind of stuff with all your other little side stuff. I can't let anybody teach the class because this is my passion, it's not theirs. This is my purpose, it's not theirs. This is what makes me happy. It's like me when I'm in the kitchen cooking. I tell my wife all the time, get out of my kitchen. I'm cooking. Because when I'm doing it and I'm doing it out of love, I don't want nobody in my way. This is my passion. Get out of here. I don't need your help with nothing. What? Here, go cut some onions, peel some potatoes. You know, get out of my way. I'm enjoying myself. That's the purpose of finding this. I guarantee you, most of you have found one or two, maybe three. But finding all four, you wouldn't even be in my class. But I'm here for infidelity. Okay, well, I'm telling you right now, your infidelity came from you lacking something in one of those four areas. Maybe all four.
So one thing, like when I was coaching football, I mean that was years ago, over 10 years ago, from like 23 to 28, something like that, 24 to 28, 23 to 28. Like dead broke. I mean, I still had a nice place, right? Me and my brother were sharing a nice place. It was cool, good area. Um, and I was just coaching football and I was getting better, a lot better at it every year. You know, went from part-time coach to like full-time linebacker coach, on and on and on. But dead ass broke. But it was like my aura, my energy, whatever you want to call it. Like, dude, there wasn't like when I walk into a place, like I knew people could feel my presence. When I'm on the field, people could feel my presence. Like I was single at the time. There wasn't a single girl, unless they didn't like me because of like a race thing. There wasn't a single girl I couldn't get, no matter how hot. What and it was like when I talked to people, I was able to get people. It was like I wasn't all 10, but I was dead ass broke. So then that's not completely balanced. Why was I still at such a like elevated state?
Um, because
Partially
still
was ignorance. There's
tying
a lot of
money,
ignorance wrapped
you're
up
still
in it.
tying money to success. I would say that you were successful, you just didn't have money. Like if the Japanese would not consider cash a part of ikigai. They wouldn't consider the amount of money you had. When your goal started working towards money, you started dumping all these other things to get money. Now what you need to do is find a way to take your like honestly, you just told me what you want to do. You because I've heard it about 40 times now, this football. When I was in football, when I was in football, when I was in football. So the first thing I would literally tell you to do is don't become a football coach. Become a coach. But what I would tell you to do in the meantime, so you can find your juju, is go find a little football league somewhere and become a coach again, part time in your free time, while you're trying to figure all this other stuff out. Jump on somebody's, small team. Doesn't matter how big it is, high school, could be little kids. Get back in the game so you can get that back. Because once you got that back, then you just translate that over into some other form of coaching. Because all you're doing is providing guidance, leadership, vision, instruction, and enforcing accountability. That's what coaches do. You enjoy that. You keep saying football, but I hear coach. And you're doing body work, and you might be doing it on the richest men in the world who put you on private planes and fly you all over the place, but there's no ikigai in that for you. So take your experiences from the coaching football world and your medical knowledge and all the stuff you know from that, and your personal training experience, combine that all and figure out a way to make yourself a coach. Because it sounds like coaching and leadership of people is exactly what you want to do. And you can make a crap ton of money doing it. And if you take what you learn from Expert Secrets and stop trying to wrap that and force that into your body work and go back the other direction and go, what did I love to do? What does the world need? Obviously, the world still needs coaches, right? What am I good at? Coaching. What am I passionate about? What do I love? Like yours is already found. Yours is easy. You just got to realign yourself that direction instead of trying to force everything in the direction of what you already just did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying give up what you did. I didn't give up my marketing company. I'm just saying, like, start pushing that direction more and replace your income with that.
Yeah, you're not the first person to tell me that. And it's definitely not the first person. You're the person I trust the most. That's told me that for sure. So
it makes sense. It literally falls. It answers all 4 questions for you. Your homework's already done. You just got to put it on paper. Just find a few other things that could be possibilities. And what by doing that exercise, what you're going to do is process of elimination. Go, well, yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Oh man, this is it. Now I'm gonna go full throttle into this because I think you already figured it out. Every time I ask you to go back to your happy place, it's always when I was a football coach.
Yeah.
But I was broke. Okay, you're coaching the wrong thing because you're not going to make it to the NCAA. Is it the NCAA? That's basketball.
Yeah.
You're not going to make it to
D1,
the
NCAA,
NFL,
D1, or NFL.
You're not going to. That's a long journey. Short journey, just become a coach. You know, Hassani did all this stuff, marriage counselor, all this stuff. He'll tell you the story. I was like, dude, when he became a coach, marriage coach, that's when it opened up boundaries because once you go counselor, there's only certain things you can say. I can't really give you hardcore advice. So he's a coach. So even then, I was like, dude, he's like, but I'm a coach. I'm not, I don't have all the letters behind my name. Why is anybody ever going to work for me? This is a conversation 5-6 years ago. So we drew out what you see in Couples Academy on a board. You're going to have 5 licensed therapists working for you. You're going to have a couple coaches. You're going to, acquire a building that can be like a retreat center. You're going to, like, it was all drawn out on the board and how he's going to get to 7 figures.
So, Jeff, you helped Hassani with this, then setting it up, Couples Academy?
Basically just drawing it out on a board, and he made it happen.
Well, I know. I'm just saying.
I mean, I was there along the way. I didn't, like, he did all the marriage counseling stuff. I really wasn't into that. I just read the books because he told me to read them. And then he was like, oh, you should be a marriage counselor. So I did that for like a hot 3 months. And I was like, I started getting all these crazy couples. And I'm like, look, bro, I can't do this. Like, I was getting crazy women calling me at night. My wife's like, why is this woman calling you at 9 o'clock at night? Nah, it ain't happening in my household. And I had one experience where they booked online and they picked me because they saw me on his show. So he didn't have, it wasn't his fault. But I'm sitting there and this dude comes on screen and I'm looking, and it looks like it's a cave, like a dungeon kind of thing. I'm like, what is going on? It's like somebody's basement. I see a naked dude walk behind him and like pull this blanket across. I'm like, what is going on? Like, and then the woman jumps on a different place. I'm like, what is going on here? This is a dude in lifetime prison who booked a counseling session for his wife, who he met while he was in prison on Facebook and caught him cheating on Facebook. This dude's been in prison for 20 years. I'm like, I'm done. Hassani, I'm done. I just sat on the phone for an hour. I didn't want to lose your brand, but if it was my company, I'd have hung up on him. That was it. That was done. That was it.
Well, you found your niche.
Like, you deal with all kinds of crazy over here. Things like, I'm too brutal, honest to like put up with that. I was like, look, you want to do group counseling for men? I'll do that. Because I already do that. I did that before, like this.
You have a niche and a knack, whatever the word is, you have it. And if I can be frank with you, when I first heard you for the first time, I knew you had some military background. I don't, but I knew you did. And I picked up on that right away.
It's generational. Like when I say it's generational, my family is not my skip the generation. But like, I'm gonna show you how generational it is. Look, nobody don't think this is like mine because I collect this kind of craziness. But my grandfather in World War II took this. You've probably seen it on the cover of Time magazine. He took this off the officer he killed when he escaped as a
Wow.
And I got a Hitler Youth knife that a kid tried to stab him in the back when he gave him some chocolate. Like, war is in my family. It's in my blood. It's just the thing. He was a was it command sergeant major or sergeant major? Sergeant major under Patton in First Cav.
Wow.
In World War II. Got captured. The mail was so slow back then that they got to the house and told his wife that he was captured and presumed dead, and he showed up to the house 2 hours later.
Wow, that was slow. That was slow.
He was only captured for 72 hours. He convinced the officer to help him escape, and the officer panicked, and he took that off of him after killing him. And they crawled across like a landmine. It's family stories. I'm sure there's like some fish story to that. But because soldiers love to make it hung low below a UH-60. There I was in Vietnam, All right, gentlemen, if you gotta go, it's cool. We'll pay way past time. But if anybody's got any questions for me, have anything you want to talk about, it doesn't have to be about this. Could be about business, compass, whatever you want to talk about.
Hey, Jeff, you mentioned a book. You and Asani mentioned a book, and I wrote down Russell Benson.
Russell Brunson. It's actually on the list.
Okay.
Expert Secrets.
Okay.
Yeah, that book will teach you how to sell information. So that guy started out by doing videos on YouTube on how to make a potato gun. And then he learned, oh my God, I made all this money making potato guns. And then so he started, how does this work? So he started studying all this marketing stuff and built an online platform, which if you're in the computer world, you've heard of ClickFunnels. Good night. And then so he created ClickFunnels and turned it into $500 million company.
What any recommendations for me? Next book? I just finished Pitch Anything.
Pitch Anything's amazing. Have you ever read Passion, Profit, and Power?
No, I've not read that one.
You're gonna have to order that one. It's not an audiobook. You gotta read that one. And if you're looking for an audiobook in the meantime, did you do Art of the Impossible?
No.
That one you can get on audio. That was my coach last year. He's a very intellectual, neuroscience-based guy. And my coach this year is Wes Watson. For all of you who don't know who that is, pretty much is.
What was the name of the book?
Yes. Huh?
What was the name? Not the Passion, Power, and Power. The other one.
The Art of the Impossible.
All right, for sure.
Yep. And that goes along with the studies by a psychologist named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who died last year, believe it or not. And he did research on a thing that psychologists studied in the 70s called flow. But Art of the Impossible he broke it down even further than Flow did. But Flow is a great book. Like, I know a lot of people that read that book once a year. Like, a lot of millionaires I know read Flow once a year.
All right, fellas, I gotta go spend some little time with my wife.
All right, sir.
Have a good night.
Night.
Hey, can you find any more land for cheap? Hey, just curious, real quick, Patrick. How much did you get that 10 acres for?
17.5.
Wow.
Percy, get in touch with Patrick.
That's awesome, Patrick. I've been
That's
looking for,
crazy.
man, you got a good deal.
What state is that in?
Minnesota.
Don't you know?
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty rural. It's rural and it's not all, I mean, it's half of it swampland, but there's a nice building site on it and it's close to the highway, so very accessible, pretty good.
It has a building on it?
No, it's got a good building site.
Oh, a place to build. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But nice hunting land. There's big deer tracks all over it. So
Buying land and even holding it at this point is a smart thing to do.
yes, that's it. Even around here, that's a good price.
You know, a wise man told me one time, Patrick, they're not recreating no more dirt out here.
You got that?
They're not.
That's one
I
thing.
remember that when I first got started with business, and he told me always to own your dirt. And I did. And 20 years later, made out like a fat cat.
If I had land in a rural area that had any kind of population near it, I'd probably like open a salmon farm or something like that. I'm just saying, because like when you're in areas that are landlocked, the price of fish is so high.
Mhm.
You know, that's one thing here in Minnesota that coming from Texas, there's catfish restaurants everywhere in Texas.
Yep.
And I lived in Texas for 30 years and love catfish. And there's catfish restaurants in every single town.
Mhm.
Well, walleye is what they eat up north here, and it's a really good fish, but it's a game fish, and so they're not allowed to raise it, I guess. But
Didn't know that.
that's something that I thought about, that why are there not fish restaurants in Minnesota like there are in Texas? It's a freaking $1 million business down there.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that's what the world in Minnesota needs, fish restaurants.
There you go.
There you go.
Mhm.
Now, do you like fish? And do you like cooking fish, or do you like raising fish? Or like you have to figure all that out. Like, what does the world need, right? You fit all that into your ikigai question. You ask yourself those questions. And you don't have to find this overnight. This is just an experiment to let you start tuning. Because if you get 3 out of 4, sometimes you'll find a piece that makes it fit all 4.
Right.
So for me, I wasn't planning on coaching. That was like the last thing I was thinking about.
Mhm.
I was trying to fix my life. And then someone goes, "How did you do it, bro?" I think the first person that did that was like Hassani. And then there was other guys, because like I hit like I had mentors that I just skyrocket past all that. They were like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? They just didn't see it. But they didn't realize I had a mentor. And so I took the lessons and the principles from that mentor. And because I literally get a new mentor every year, I combine all their stuff. Now, the crazy part is none of the compass came from any of my mentors except for one piece, the 4 rules. The rest of it came from ancient knowledge that I studied on my own, like Ikigai, or the integrity tree. That's a 2,000-year-old story. The certainty bridge came from 70s, well, 50s, 60s, and 70s guru who had kind of crossed the bridge from the Eastern world to the Western world, and like literally drove around, and he had 99 Bentleys. No, Rolls Royces, 99 Rolls Royces.
Wow.
They were all given to him.
Mm.
He was like a guru. He was real popular in America. Like all the stars went to him. And I would listen to his stuff. He was kind of crazy and kooky on some stuff, but then he was profound in his knowledge. So I was like looking to follow the dude. I mean, he's dead, but I was like, yo, this dude is deep. Like, he would say crazy stuff just to piss people off. And people go, oh, don't listen to him because blah, 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 blah. But I could just tell he had profound knowledge. He would always act like he came up with it. I'm like, man. So I looked this stuff up. as he was talking about it, and I'd find where he got it from. And then as he got older, he started revealing his sources. And I was like, the Upanishads. Okay, so I read the Upanishads. You know what I mean? I'm like, but if it wasn't for his flashy sunglass wearing diamond crusted sunglasses in the 70s that look like glasses now, his collection of diamond watches and his flashy clothes, I wouldn't have ever paid attention to him. But because he had that, I was willing to go listen to some crazy Indians about some stuff. You know what I mean? All he did was take Eastern concepts. He was Pakistani, but Pakistani used to be part of India. But he was Pakistani, he's a Pakistani guru. And come over here and took millions from I'm sure he was a con artist of some sort, but brilliant.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I saw something about that guy. He's an interesting guy.
Osho?
Yeah, interesting guy.
Definitely. Hey, I have to put him on 1.5 speed just to get it to sound normal. Because
You
he's
talk real fast.
so slow.
Oh, slow. Oh.
Really slow. It almost puts you in a trance if you listen to him at normal speed.
Good night, fellas.
All right, good night.
All right.
Good night.
How do I find what I'm good at?
Ask yourself those 4 questions, start filling out the answers. I already know what you're good at, bro.
But my problem is I want to build competence in things so that I can become good at them. But
okay, so stop building competence because you're 5, you automatically go to competence, and the things that you're competent in already, you don't believe you're competent in. And what you've got to stop doing is you've got to allow 5s need to allow ego to do some stuff. So ego is all about comparison to the rest of the world. 5s don't, they turn that in on themselves. They're their worst critics. You need to compare yourself to what other people's outcomes are. And not just their outcomes, because you'll look at their outcomes, but you're thinking their outcomes came from competence. I want you to realize their outcomes are greater than yours and that they're incompetent. Their outcomes come from this. You have the story. They tell a story that they don't even have. But because you don't believe you have a story, you're not telling yours. This is why you must, this is not even an option for you, Patrick. Within the next month, you have to find a Toastmasters.
Toastmasters.
It's going to be the most uncomfortable thing you ever did.
Well, I learned something today. On my way home driving, since I wasn't talking to my wife, I said, bro, I was stuck in traffic. I actually did something I don't usually do. I went on the phone and downloaded an audiobook. So I started listening to the Charisma book.
Good. 5s need charisma.
And it was very interesting, just the first chapters.
Did you hear the part about Madonna yet?
I just heard about the Madonna. Was it Madonna? No, there's one.
Not Madonna. I'm sorry. Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe. Yep.
That is the greatest story in the world about charisma and how you can turn it on and turn it off.
And the breathing and the presence. I think that's one of my big problems. I don't pay. I wouldn't say I don't pay attention.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you don't pay attention and you don't take up enough space.
I don't make eye contact, but I do listen, but I just don't look like I'm paying.
No eye contact, no control. Just always think about that. I mean, they taught me that when I only played football for like not even a full year. I quit. I don't like the coach. But he literally used to say, no eye contact, no control. He wanted us to look dead in the other person's eyes when you're on the line.
No eye contact, no control.
No eye contact, no control.
And that was different for us. I was a running back. So it's different. They didn't
Oh
want
yeah,
to.
well, you don't want to have eye contact with them. You want to
Right.
keep
You
your eye on
don't
the
have eye
goal.
contact with nobody. Nobody.
Uh,
But like in a one-on-one situation in a room in business, you don't have eye contact, you don't have control.
Yeah.
If they're looking away, you won already.
Presence.
And take up space. Take up space. Shoulders back, lats down. Chest high. Same thing you do when you're lifting heavy weight. Shoulders back, lats down. Chest high.
And voice projection.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna have a problem with voice projection. I think you're gonna have a problem with intonation.
Information.
So like learning how to, like, if you listen to, actually Farzad, me, and Percy, since we're all in those spheres, you'll notice how our voices go up and then they go down. When I want you to think about something, even though I just made a statement, you're getting hooked on it because every time I go up like this, it sounds like a question. That makes you listen to me. If I'm monotone, I can't read emotion. I can't tell your intent.
And people fall asleep.
That's it. You want, if you went into a professor and he talked in a very monotonous voice and was always staying in this particular tone, never ever went up or down, it'd become very boring very quickly. I can absolutely talk about absolutely nothing, but because I'm using tone, it actually makes you want to listen, even though I really haven't said anything yet. I'm just talking, but at the end of the day, you don't mind talking because that's why people will listen to stupid rap songs that have nothing in them. Because it's tone and cadence that they're following.
Could it be because of my, well, I don't want to say classify myself and say because of my personality, but because of my mannerisms, I avoid drawing attention to myself, so I don't speak in a way that attracts.
So we're gonna put you in a big pimp hat for Halloween, and you're gonna wear a pimp suit, and you're gonna be like, "Yeah, baby." You're gonna have to go out and do it. Like, not seriously. Like, that's what the improv acting class is for.
It's be loud.
So that you can learn how to be wild for no reason at all.
Okay.
And I know it's purposely, it's perfectly capable. There's a guy named the Iceman. He was a hitman for the mob, but he was also a serial killer. And the dude's stone cold. He has no personality. Very raw. It's kind of scary that he reminds me of me a little bit until he goes really insane. But that dude literally dressed up one time to do a hit. He dressed up and pretended like he was gay and was like dancing on the dance floor, bumping into people just so he could do this hit. Now he's a 6'5", 300-pound man. He dressed up in flamboyant clothes and started dancing on the dance floor just so he could kill the guy without getting on the dance floor. The whole idea was to kill him, make it scene. This guy would chop people up and put them in a freezer in an ice cream truck. They were literally in ice cream trucks going around New Jersey and Philadelphia, selling ice cream to kids, but had a freezer in there that had dead bodies in it, so that the police couldn't identify the time of death when they dropped the body somewhere.
Wow.
No.
Iceman.
You can watch his documentary on HBO. It's called Iceman Cometh, or you can watch the movie they made about him a couple years ago on Showtime.
Let me ask you this: what's the fascination in America? I seem to see there's a fascination with stories about killers.
Horror movies. That's a Western idea. So
Not just documentaries generally. 2020.
just documentaries in
there's
general.
always something about how this wife arranged the husband's death, and there's always something like that on 2020 on just like.
So you have to understand where that comes from. It comes from the nature of horror, which you're going to get Grimm's fairy tales, things like that start with all that. And so we have a lot of those scary stories that are told Then we had a movie genre that came in and did that. Then we have cop stories that also align with that, which leads you to the idea. The cop stories, like, so if you're Law and Order or any of those type of fans, the storyline literally tries to keep you confused in the beginning, but then drops you clues so that you can figure it out on purpose. They want you to figure it out and make it feel like you figured it out before the movie showed it to you. That's the way they're designed. Okay. And then that creates an interest in becoming the investigator. So now you think you're the investigator, you like Law and Order, but there's not enough shows. So now you can watch the stories and the documentaries on all the shows. And there's been a history of that forever. But it starts with horror. An interest in horror, and then real life horror.
Oh yeah, and it's pretty just a
moves
dive.
on.
Like I found that it kind of bothers me because it makes me think, well, why would I be so interested in knowing about how someone pulled off a crime to kill people? Like, I'm not trying to learn to be a killer.
Okay. I think every man should learn how to be a killer. You don't need it until you do. You know what my class was like in martial arts last night? At the end, I felt honored, extremely honored, because we had this teacher. Our instructor was one of the junior instructors. She's very, very good. And the main teacher, our Mahatma Guru, he's like a master, could not teach the class because we had a brand new student. He was the only one student, so he wanted to introduce it to him properly. So one of the instructors, he just stood off to the side, showed her the flow drill he wanted to get into, and we're doing single knife. So we're holding a single knife, and we're doing these like different stab drills where eventually the whole idea is that they could throw anything at you and you could handle it, your knife versus their knife. At the end of class, it was very advanced stuff, and normally he would teach that class himself. So he came over at the end of class. He's like, does everybody feel confident? Everybody feels good. Everybody thinks they know it. Everybody ready to do a little test? And we all said yes. And he said, anybody got a live blade on him? And so I tossed him my pocket knife. He opens the blade. This is, you already know him because you met him. That's Angola.
Angola.
Yeah. So he comes over to me and he's like, are you ready? And he just started stabbing at me with the real blade. And I was doing the drill. And he just came from different angles. It wasn't like in an order like we practiced or anything. And I was able to handle all of it. And I was like, I was deeply honored. The reason why I train like that is because I've been in situations like that. And for all the people who don't think that they're going to be in a situation like that, if I was on the other side of the fence, which I almost did cross the other side of the fence, all of you people who don't think like that are my prey. If you're not a hunter, you're the hunted.
Yeah, prey.
You might be in a pack full of deer, you might be the one that gets away. But if I was in Texas, of all places, I'd want to know how to be.
Wild, Wild West.
I'm just saying, active shooter.
You
guys have active shooters every week.
Yep.
Every single week in Texas, there's an active shooter.
Kids with guns in schools.
I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about the crazy guys that walk into Walmart because they thought like their robot master told them to do so, you know, or their political advisors told them to do it in secret code on some website somewhere. You got a lot of weirdos in Texas.
Road rage. Plenty of that.
You guys didn't Dallas, like, didn't they have that shooter that was just shooting all over the place in the middle of the city? It took them like several.
Yep.
Like, you could walk in any situation, and what would you do? I know, run. You can't outrun a bullet. You can't outrun a bullet.
Nope.
I'm gonna get down. Okay, now you're a lying target.
Or act dead.
You don't know
Act
what to do.
Play dead.
No, that doesn't work either. First thing is get down. Then it's put eyes on the shooter. Identify where the fire is coming from. I've watched literally videos and actually saw this happen once in real life. It's pretty ugly, where someone ran towards the shooter because they didn't know where it came from.
Ooh.
You don't see the muzzle flash, you hear the bang, it's ricocheting off the walls, right? Sound, you don't always know where it comes from when you're in a building, especially when it's loud.
OODA loop.
OODA loop, exactly. Messes up your OODA loop. So, wow, you remember that. You want to know how to be a killer. It's quintessential for manhood.
Like life or death.
Now, do you ever want to use it? No. But I'd rather be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in a war.
Good point.
Or be like Gandhi, peacemaker.
The other thing is, you keep talking about this present stuff. There's no question in anyone's mind that I'm a stone cold killer. I don't even have remorse, not even a little bit, for anyone I ever put down.
I guess it was you or them, right?
I don't even know that. I signed up for a mission. It was my duty.
No
My duty
nightmares.
has to override my emotion. We'll get to that. Honor, duty, respect, and loyalty. These are how you keep your emotions in check, because you don't have time for emotion as a man. I'm not saying you don't feel. You don't have time for emotion to control your life. The difference. Still feel. Still have tears once in a while. Still feel hurt once in a while. I just don't have time for it to control my life. My honor comes first. My duty comes second. My respect and my loyalty. These are the things that keep me my true north in spite of whatever's going on around me. Everyone else around me is going to get emotional. I already know the men, the women are going to act like, the women try to act like men, but they're too emotional to be men. The men are going to act like women thinking that they're men. Everyone's good until that blade comes out, till that gun comes out. Then all of them turn into women. Everyone yaps until somebody actually has to do something. That's why I was like, I literally told, I don't know which group it was. It might have been this group, it might have been my other group outside of Foundry. One of the dude told me he was yeah, I'm a tough guy. I take martial arts. I was like, when was the last time you got punched in the face? He was like, oh, well, I haven't. I'm like, then you don't do martial arts. I don't know what the heck you do. That's a sport. Well, I take Muay Thai. I was like, when were you punched in the face last? He was like, well, I didn't get punched in the face. I was like, well, then you don't do martial arts. Martial arts means warfare arts.
Okay.
You take a fitness class.
Gotta get hit.
But Muay Thai is a martial art. I'm like, if you don't get hit, that's not a martial art. And if you're not practicing with weapons, that's not a martial art.
Martial.
Martial's war. I've never seen a war fought without a gun or a knife.
You're right.
So why these classes teach people hands first, I have no idea. My class, you start with a stick in your hand to learn how the blade works. Then you move immediately into a knife. Then you learn double knife, double stick. Then you practice with swords. Then we go to the gun range. I take a true martial art.
Yeah.
So when he's practicing with a real knife, it's to make sure I actually learn a lesson. Well, what happens if you get cut? He's not moving full speed and he's not doing full puncture. He's not going for my actual body. He's aiming towards my body. Which means if I get cut, it's because I didn't do something right. Which means it's still going to be a little tiny cut. What am I crying for? Like, that's manhood. Somewhere along the line, we got this idea that we don't have to fight anymore. And I'm gonna tell you, there's a difference when I walk in a room and when you walk in a room. I guarantee it. I walk in a room, people move out of my way. Every grocery store, every conference hall, no one bumps into me at all, ever. It's like my buddy was walking with me at the last conference we went to, and he was just laughing. He's like, it's like this vacuum just goes around you.
How tall are you, Jeff?
I'm only 6'2".
Okay.
I'm 200. Well, as of today, I'm 275 pounds.
The presence.
Yeah.
But everyone, literally everywhere I go, I was just sitting at a bar the other day, and all the wait. I've known the bartender for I don't know 6-7 years, and they had like it's like the last place you're gonna get a 75-cent wing or a happy hour, right? So and it's only served at the bar. So I get the wings. I love everything's farm to table at that place, and sitting at the bar, and the bartender came over to me laughing. She's like, "We have all new waitresses, and they want to know your name, whatever, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay." So she's like, "I told him." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm married." She's like, "Yeah, I told him you're married too." And then she was like, "They all said you're intimidating."
You look angry or mean.
He's got really pretty eyes, but he's intimidating. You guys hear me talk, but I don't really talk a lot out in public. If you ask my wife, she'll say I'm like 3 different people, because when I'm home, I'm usually quiet, reading or watching documentaries, but not on how to kill. You know how to do that.
Okay.
All right.
Good to know.
All right, gentlemen.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Good
Have a
night.
good night.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good night,
thank you for
gentlemen.
that time. Gentlemen, have a
All
good
right.
night.
All right,
Yeah. Bye-bye.
take care. Where's